With no further ado, I'd like to introduce Melissa Glick. Melissa Glick is the founder, business strategist, and coach for Peak CEO, a LinkedIn expert, and someone I've really gotten to learn, really enjoyed spending some time with in the months leading up into this presentation. So, with no further ado, what I'd love to do is remove the spotlight from me, turn this over to Melissa. And Melissa, the floor is 100% yours.
Awesome. Hello. Thank you guys for being here with me. Good morning. Actually, it's more like good afternoon. I just realized when I said that you are probably all on the East Coast, and here I am on the West Coast. I'm still drinking my coffee. But still, thank you and good morning and good afternoon. And especially thank you to Jason and Pamela for organizing this and for asking me to participate in this event. So I'm really excited to be here with you today. Whenever I get asked to speak, I always like to start off with a little story, just to have you guys get to know me a little bit and what I'm all about. So here we go. I built a tech company, a multi-million-dollar tech company, and I sold it 2.5 years ago. And that was a whole thing and a story for a different day and a topic for a different day. But it's relevant, and I'm sharing it with you because it speaks a little bit about to my history of LinkedIn. I think that I can safely say I'm an OG on LinkedIn. When I looked at my profile creation date, it was back in 2007. That is 18 years ago that I've been on LinkedIn. And how I used it back in 2007 was as a resume. And it pretty much stayed that way for 15 years. When I had my own company, when I had this tech company, I did use it to help me do recruitment. I would post jobs and I would find people to hire on LinkedIn and other platforms that I would use as well. Occasionally, I would make announcements on LinkedIn about industry awards that I won or my company won. And then I would also use it to make announcements about conferences that I was attending. This is how I used LinkedIn. So now going back to my business, the exit of my business. So it was a crazy experience going through something like that. And when you sell a business, you're not out immediately. Like you have to stick around and transition for a little bit. So it closed and all kinds of emotions, right? But it took me about a month of just processing some of my feelings. But for some reason, I felt compelled that I wanted to share a piece of that on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn was where I had about a few hundred connections, people that I knew from school, vendors, colleagues, that kind of stuff. And it was, I worked in B2B forever. And I felt like I wanted to share my story there. And so I decided that I was going to post one day. And I posted about the day that I closed on the business and the day that I had to tell my employees, I had to call a spontaneous all hands meeting and show up and tell my employees that I sold the business. And not only that, but in the aftermath of that meeting, when everyone was all up in arms and I had to manage that, the new owner, the new CEO stepped in at that moment and took over. And it was, telling that story right now is kind of emotional for me because it just was such a like influx of emotions and a weird feeling after building a company over 15 years. But that post that post, it was super real. It was super raw. I had no experience with posting like that. I just shared my feelings, and it got more attention and more likes and more comments that I'd ever seen before on LinkedIn. Because mind you, I was not coming to LinkedIn for thought leadership or to learn anything. I used it as a place where I had my resume. So I didn't follow creators at the time. My connections, like I said, it was people that I knew. But for that post, people came out of the woodwork. I did not know who they were, and I'd never experienced anything like that before. So I mentioned that I'm on the West Coast. So I live in two places. I live in Durango, Colorado, and Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm here in Scottsdale because it's nice weather this time of year, and I leave Durango in the winter because it's frankly cold. But at the time I made that post, I was in Durango, and a few weeks after, I made some plans with some friends who were coming into town to go out to dinner. So it was going to be the three of us. And then at the last minute, they're like, we want to bring a friend, you know, we want to bring a guy to dinner. And I'm like, okay. So, I kind of think I know what's going on here. But we go to dinner, and the four of us are chatting. We're having a great time. And the sale of my company comes up because, I mean, obviously it's a big deal. And we start talking about it. And the guy, he goes, wait, I saw your post. I read your post about selling your company. I saw that. I wasn't connected to this guy. I never knew this guy. And that blew me away. I was like, wait a second. How did that even happen? So that moment changed the way that I saw LinkedIn forever, because up until then, I thought it was just this network of people that I already knew. But what that showed me was that it really was a platform for reach and for influence and for connection. And well, I didn't know it at the time because I had no idea what I was going to do next in my career, because admittedly, I was in a major transition. I knew that I wanted it to include LinkedIn because I had these stories and these experiences that I wanted to share, and clearly people wanted to hear it. So, so that's why I'm here. And for the next 40 minutes, I'm going to be diving deep into strategies about how you can actually use LinkedIn as a business building tool. But I just want to acknowledge that the reality of putting yourself out there, especially if you are in any kind of transition like I was, is super scary. Super, super scary. So what I would love if I would love to hear from you guys by either putting a fire or a thumbs up in the comment section. But who here has ever had fears about going in public with your story and sharing your story publicly, or about what it might mean if you go to a place like LinkedIn to share some vulnerable moments of your life, or wondering what people are going to think of you, or being afraid of starting something new at this point in your life? Has anybody had any of those thoughts? Because I sure have. And I especially did 2.5 years ago when I decided to post that story and see what happened. Like, what are people going to think of me? Sharing something like that. So that's what I thought. I thought a bunch of people were going to have those similar feelings because, almost everyone is stopping short of living their best life because they are afraid of something. They're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of failure, or being like too late to start something new. And fear is not the enemy. What it actually is proof that we're stretching, and stretching is good. Stretching is a good thing. That knot in your stomach. I always tell this to people I'm coaching. I'm like, if you feel a knot in your stomach about posting it, that's probably the thing you need to post. Because fear is this, primal instinct that's been honed from like years of evolution to protect us from real threats of danger. but it's also this completely illogical thing that we make up in our mind that prevents us from doing the things and seeing the opportunities that are all around us. So opportunity, the opportunity really that you're looking for is on the other side of the fear. And one of the best places to find opportunity that I have found is LinkedIn. So I'm actually here today. Jason and Pamela found me because of LinkedIn. So there's proof right there. But a lot of people will use LinkedIn the way that I use LinkedIn, as a resume, as this like static profile, and a place to connect with colleagues. And it's so much more than that. It's the most powerful business growth tool that's available today. And so over the last 2.5 years, I have been diving deep into how to use it for business building, because I am a growth coach for business owners. And so how I am able to teach this to people is with a system. And this is a system that I developed in order to help people learn it faster. So my system that I'm going to be going through today is a framework that you will be able to leave here today and implement actionable steps to turn your LinkedIn into a business building machine. My system is called CRUISE. It's CRUISE, CRUISE. And I'm going to be breaking down this acronym and giving you golden nuggets for ways that you can actually start to build your brand and eventually monetize it. People make mistakes when they come here. They make a lot of mistakes when they come here. So this tool is a way to try and avoid some of those mistakes. And some of the biggest mistakes that they make is not using it as a tool. They also show up here way too generic, way too generic. If you come into a sea of 1 billion people, there's 1 billion people here, and you do not have clear positioning, you are going to simply get ignored. You're going to be invisible here. So you can't just be generic. You have to have some role, some uniqueness, some differentiator about you to actually stand out. And then the last mistake that people make is showing up as someone who's passive. LinkedIn doesn't work passive. You have to be active. And by active, I mean engaging. So when you post something, but you aren't actively trying to have conversations, it won't generate anything for you. So we're going to start off with the CRUISE framework and C. The C stands for your content. Now, content is so important. This is what makes you not invisible. This is what positions you as an authority. So you are wanting to come here to build a brand, to become a thought leader, to eventually monetize. You have to use content in order to do that. But how do I structure that? Like, how do I even know what to write? This is a big question, right? How do I get all the information that's in my brain that I know from working and have all these experience and all these skills out onto some kind of a post? So here's a content rule that I like to give to people. It's the 80-20 content rule. 80% of your content should be audience focused, which means it should be about them, whoever your audience is. And I'm going to be getting into who that is in a second, but I want you to think about creating content that's 80% focused on them. And how, like, how do I do that? How do I share things that are focused on my audience? Well, you can do that by offering value to them. So practical strategies that they can use immediately. What do you know that you can share with your audience? Insights, right? These are things that mistakes that you've made, failures that you've made that you can share with people so that they can learn from you. Mindset shifts that you've experienced that were breakthrough moments. These are This is audience focused content and personal experiences too. So the reason why my initial post about selling my business was resonated with so many people was because I shared some information that made my lessons more relatable and real to people. So, does somebody have, I'm hearing things.
I think it was just somebody that was unmuted accidentally, so I just muted.
Oh,
I think
okay.
you're all good.
Okay. I just want to make sure there wasn't a question.
No worries.
Um, so, where was I? Yeah. All right. So stories and personal experiences. And so when you share things that are real and relatable, it keeps your audience engaged because they actually feel like they're getting real value. And number one, not something that was just, found on Chat GPT or Googled that they could find anywhere else. And also two, it's not some kind of sales pitch, right? You want to share valuable information with these people so that they want to keep coming back for more. So that's 80%. Now, 20% is actually business focused. So by business, I mean, what's the point of you being on LinkedIn? Like, what is your business? What are your goals? Are you trying to monetize your brand? Are you trying to drive people to sign up for your newsletter? Are you just trying to increase your followers? Like, what is your goal? And then whatever your goal is, that becomes your business of why you're there. And then you can start to sprinkle in that 20% of content around your business. So that could be your offers or how people can go deeper if they want to learn more about what you have to say. It could be testimonials. It could be case studies. Like, you want to showcase your wins because you want to build your authority. You want to build your brand. You want people to think of you as a thought leader. And you do that by building up your authority. So you do want to sprinkle in things that showcase your authority. So it's not just about like pitching stuff and selling stuff. You're positioning yourself. You're showing them what is possible if they continue to follow you and reach out to you and maybe even work with you. And so why this balance is so important, the 80-20 balance, is because if you focus too much on the business focused content, then it becomes a little cringy and people feel like they're being pitched to all the time and they're going to check out. They're not going to come back to your page. They're going to hide you. But if you only focus on value and insights, people are going to love what you have to talk about, but then they might not realize how they can work with you. And then your chances of monetizing are a problem. I am working with a woman right now. She has over 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. Her engagement, the amount of comments that she gets, it is out of control. I can't even believe how popular she is. She cannot fill her workshop right now. So you got to be careful about this mix. Okay, so now I've told you how to do it. Now you have to, now you're probably thinking, what do I write about? I know I have a somewhat of a strategy that's starting to become apparent here, but like how do I structure this post, right? Because you don't just want to put a bunch of words in a post with chunky paragraphs that's super long that, you're going to lose people's attention. We're talking about social media here. It's got to capture their attention and keep them there. Otherwise, they're going to go somewhere else. And so there's a simple post formula that I want to share with you guys on how to craft your post. And it's three things. And mind you, this is basic, right? Once you start to get more into writing and learning your style, all of this gets blown up. But this is where we're starting from today because we frankly only have an hour. So the simple post formula is hook, value, CTA. And I'm going to explain what each of those things mean. So a hook is the first sentence that captures the attention of your audience. You want to make them feel something. You want to shock them. You want to stop the scroll. So actually, my best example of a hook. I'm just going to tell you what my hook was for today on my post. I'm going to read it to you. My hook today for the post that published an hour ago was, I once got accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a client. So people see that and they want to read more. That's a good hook. Examples of this are like calling out a problem, asking a question, teasing a story like mine. I'm teasing a story there. So that's an example of a hook. And now we get into the value, which I've talked a little bit about so far. But what I mean by value is that you want to give them something useful. So your experiences, your insights, you can frame it in a list, like a listicle or bullet points or something where you're sharing tips, you're sharing lessons, insights. The thing about the value portion of your post is that you want it to be relatively simple with one common takeaway or one common theme. I look at people's posts sometimes and I'm just like, holy cow, they're going off into 50 million different directions. I don't even know. I'm done. I'm out. So when you try and cram too much in there, people get lost. So to really try and keep it to like one central theme or one takeaway. And then the third piece of that simple formula is your CTA, which stands for your call to action, right? If somebody is reading your post, you have their attention. So you want to keep it and you want to tell your audience what to do next. And it doesn't have to be buy my thing, right? It can be as simple as encouraging engagement or to start a conversation in the comment section. So they're reading your content, they're interested in you. You have to tell them what you want them to do next. And it can be, asking them a question at the very end of your post that encourages them to respond in the comment section with their answer. You want to encourage people to comment thoughtful words in your comment section, not just I love it or great or fire emoji. That doesn't really do anything. It doesn't spark a conversation. But if you ask a good question and then people give you a good response, it can create a conversational tone in the comment section and invite other people in, which encourages conversation, encourages relationship building, and also it spurs the algorithm. The algorithm likes conversations in the comment section. So you want to hook, value, CTA. That's how you write content on LinkedIn. All right, that's the C. That's one of the biggest pieces. The next in the cruise framework is R, which stands for real estate. This is the real estate of your profile. I'm going to be talking about optimizing your profile. Now, our profiles have a lot of options. I'm only going to have time to talk about 4 of the biggies. The biggie being your banner. The banner is the piece at the top of your profile that should reinforce your expertise. It should be a stunning design with a very clear headline. It's essentially like your personal billboard. So you want it to be clear. You want to use high quality visuals. You want to make sure that your banner on your desktop looks okay on your mobile device also. So you want to check for that. That's really important. So use colors, you use fonts, use imagery that actually aligns with your brand, your personal brand or your company brand. Your banner is an extension of your brand. So it's really important that it's consistent with your website or the other things that you have. So your banner should announce who you are, what you do, and who you help. It should do those things. But what you need to have on your banner that most people don't have is the outcome of what you can help people achieve. It's the outcome, because when people land here and they've got a couple seconds to decide if they want to stay, if it speaks to them by telling them the results and the outcome, they're going to stick around because they want to learn from you. They want to see if you can help them. So the other thing about your banner that you want to include, and I'm all about consistency here, is you also want a CTA on your banner. You want to invite people to understand how to reach you. So you can invite them to ring your bell, which is a way of them getting notified anytime you post content if they ring your bell. If you want them to follow you, ask them to follow you. Have a CTA that says follow me. If you want them to book a sales call, tell them that that's what you want them to do. Like, have a CTA in your banner. Moving down the profile, your next is your headline. So your headline is super important. This is right underneath your name. And this is also where most people will write their title. Okay. And so for the purposes of brand building and becoming a thought leader, it needs to be more than your title. Okay. You also need to know that when you are out on LinkedIn in the wild, commenting, building relationships, what people see isn't anything on your profile. They don't see any of that. What they see is the tiny little circle that's your profile picture. They see your name and they see the first 70 characters of your headline. So you want your headline to tell specifically what you do. Like, your banner is high level. It's a high level brand statement. It's visual first. It's instant recognition. You can, if you've got great credentials, like you've been on media and you can showcase your media, or you've worked with high profile clients, like put their logos on your banner. That's great. But your headline, it should be specific, action-oriented positioning. And it's also text-driven. So the words that you use in your headline are search friendly. If somebody goes into the search bar of LinkedIn and to type in, business coach or whatever, if you have that written in your headline, you will show up. So you want to think about the words that you're using and be very intentional. Next piece of real estate is your about section. Okay, this is the biggest space that we have for text, but we shouldn't be writing about us in our about section. Biggest mistake I see people make is they write all about, they use it to fluff themselves up even more and expand on their resume. But what they should be doing is writing about the pains of their audience. This is where you need to really grab their attention and show them that you understand what their problems are and that you have a solution for their problems. So use your about section to talk about them and then lead them through by explaining that your solution is the answer for them. And then at the very end, you can talk a little bit about yourself and maybe even write a testimonial or something to prove that you actually, have some street cred, I like to say. That's how I've structured my about section. The last piece of real estate that I'm going to be talking about is the featured section. A lot of people forget about this. They don't even know that it's there, but they don't optimize it. The featured section is essentially functions like a landing page, because you can have direct links in your featured section to take people to where you want them to go, whether that's booking a sales call, whether it's a link to your case studies or your testimonials, or you want to take them to like your paid offer, whatever that is. You can have a graphic that is consistent with your banner. So there's a visual component, and it's essentially you're telling people how to work with you there. So optimizing your featured section is super, super important. All right, so I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to see if you guys have any quick questions before I get into the next letters in the acronym. Anybody have any quick questions?
I had a quick question, and I wanted to ask you because I have a lot of clients that I work with through coaching as well who are trying to make the most of their LinkedIn presence, and I find a common objection, and I think it leads to a common problem with getting too specific on an outcome or too specific on a post, is that you run the risk of alienating some of your audience who might not be interested in that particular thing. But if you go too generic and try to be all things to all people, you wind up just being watered down and easy to probably scroll right past because you've done something that's just too high level and doesn't really strike enough of a nerve with somebody. Is this something that you see as being common?
Yes,
Yes.
everybody has this concern, especially when you're starting out, because you don't have a lot of engagement, you don't have a lot of followers, and you think, I don't want to alienate people when I already have so little. And so you're kind of starting out with this scarcity um, mindset almost of, I don't have enough. I need more. I'm more, so I need to be broader. But what we're trying to do is build you up as a thought leader in a particular space. And I think that if you have too general of a population of people, people aren't going to resonate with you. So I like to pick a niche and talk to that person, like almost create an avatar, have a deep understanding of who it is that you feel like you can help, and then speak to that person.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was sorry, I was just muted there. That's so important because that laser focus on that what you're when you're trying to really capture the attention, you're not going to be able to be all things to all people, and that's I find that to be really common. So very validating. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, once you have a huge audience, like 75,000 people, I feel like then you can start to be a little bit more general in your approach. But initially, you want to find your people. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about what that means in building a community in just a few minutes. All right, so I'm going to move on. All right, we've talked about content, we've talked about real estate. The U in cruise stands for your unique selling proposition. And this kind of goes along with what Jason just asked. So your unique selling proposition, your USP is the terminology for it. It's basically what makes you different from the competition in a way that's compelling to your ideal client. So there's a billion people here, and whatever it is that you want to be a thought leader for, or whatever it is that you're selling, I promise you, there are millions of other people who are doing the same thing. And so you have to stand out. The only way that you can stand out in a sea of a billion people who are all, well, I think 1% of people on LinkedIn are actually creators, or less than 1%, but it's still a lot of people. So the only way that you stand out, the only thing that really truly makes you different is you. You're the differentiator. So why is someone going to choose you over anyone else? I need you guys to be thinking about that. And what makes you different? What makes your offer different or valuable in a way that your competitors don't provide? And so I have a sentence that you guys can fill out that can help you determine or start to determine what your USP could be for now. This is something that takes time to evolve too. Whatever your USP is now is probably not going to be the same one 6 months from now. LinkedIn is a journey, guys. I mean, it's you learn it by doing it. So the sentence is, I help target audience, insert your target audience there, achieve result, insert your result there, in a way that's different. So I'll repeat that. I help target audience achieve result in a way that's differentiator. You put right there. So for me, I have a couple different USPs, but I help service-based entrepreneurs grow their LinkedIn revenue without spammy DMs, without paid ads, and without losing their mind. So that's a USP for me. It shows how I'm different. So I want you guys to start to brainstorm this, like write out your USP and really start to be intentional on who you think you are in this world of a billion people. The I in cruise stands for ICP, which is your ideal customer profile. So you are the USP, but your client is the ICP. And this goes back to what Jason was asking earlier, is that most people talk to everyone and attract no one. You're here because you want to attract people to you and opportunities to you. So the more clear your ICP is, the more targeted your content is and engagement is, the more people will be attracted to you. So you think about who do you help and what problems do they have? Like what keeps them up at night? You have to become super intimate with who your ICP is. Like my ICP, I gave her a name. So this is my avatar. Her name is Erica. I know what keeps her up at night. And when I write my content, I speak to her so that when she reads it, she's like, is Melissa living in my brain? Oh my God. Like she knows me. That's how you know you've nailed your ICP, is when people say to you, do you live in my brain? All right. So content, real estate, USP, ICP. Next one in cruise is the S, which stands for strategy. So you can't just be showing up here throwing darts into the wind. There has to be a plan for what you're doing here, right? So it's visibility, which is you got to post regularly. How many days a week are you going to post? Maybe you post 2 to 3 days a week to start. I post 5. And then you show up the other days to really engage and support other people and start to expand your reach. That's a great strategy, but you've got to be visible. Authority is showing up with something to say, right? Sharing your expertise, sharing your social proof. This is part of the strategy also. And then engagement, which is also the E in cruise. It's the final letter in the acronym, engagement. Okay. This is huge. This is how you build a community. This is how you find your people. This is how you find your clients. This is how you find the opportunities. This is taking LinkedIn passive to LinkedIn active. So we've got outbound engagement and then we've got inbound engagement. I teach a lot of people sales, and it's outbound sales and inbound sales. It's same with engagement. So outbound engagement is you commenting on other people's posts and messaging people, sending messages to people in the DMs. This is outbound engagement. And you do this to find your community. You want to support your peers. You want to be commenting and in the comment section of your peers so that other people see your name and your tagline or your headline, and they come to your profile because they're interested in you because they saw you comment somewhere else. So by putting yourself out there and commenting on people and living in the wild LinkedIn universe, you're helping your role, you're helping your brand, you're helping your strategy by putting yourself out there to attract people to you. So again, this is outbound engagement. So a great strategy for newbies in terms of and not even so much newbies, because people who are more established, who have a lot of different things they're doing on LinkedIn, they can't be spending 2 hours a day just on outbound engagement. So I like to just do the 30-minute rule. First 10 minutes of outbound engagement, you comment on posts that you see from your ideal clients. So whoever your ICP is, you comment on their posts, you support them so that they recognize who you are, you can connect with them, and you can build a relationship with them. You spend 10 minutes commenting on posts from your peers. These are people who are in adjacent fields to you. These are maybe even competitors of yours. These are your friends. You want to spend 10 minutes commenting on their posts. And then the final 10 minutes is you also want to comment on posts from people who are further along in their LinkedIn journey than you are. So I like to focus on mid-size accounts, so like 10 to 50K in terms of followers. These are people who they have a great audience, and you can meet a lot of people and potentially clients in their comment section because they are getting a lot of eyeballs and there's a lot of people showing up there. Once you get into the larger accounts, you can still comment on their stuff as well, but these people are rarely going to ever, you're never going to be able to build a relationship with them because there's so many people showing up there. So I've developed amazing relationships with people who have mid-size accounts because I commented on their posts for a while, and then they recognized who I was, and then they started supporting me as well. So mid-size creators, they're doing the same thing. They're just doing it a little bit at a higher level because they've been here for longer. That's outbound engagement. Now, inbound engagement is that you always want to comment and respond to anybody who comments on your post. It's like the humane thing to do. If you don't respond to them and acknowledge them and say, thanks for the support, and oh, here's my response to what you said, they're not going to come back. It's like somebody coming up and giving you a hug and you just like don't even acknowledge them and you turn your head. So outbound engagement, inbound engagement. All right. So that is the cruise model. All right. Content, real estate, USP, which is nailing your positioning, ICP, which is speaking directly to your people. You've got your strategy, so you're staying visible, you're engaging with intention, and then engagement is starting conversations, building a community. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to take action in the next 24 hours. I want you to use this framework as a business building tool. Take something that I've shared with you and make improvements with whatever you're doing now. You can take something that I said and make an improvement. And I want to invite you to, if you do post something, tag me. Let me know so I can come and support you. I want to support people who are just starting out on this journey because it wasn't that long ago that I was in your shoes and I know what that's like. So feel free to tag me. You know, this framework is a tool. And I use tools, I use systems because they limit mistakes. I had to start from scratch 2.5 years ago, and I made a ton of mistakes here. And so you all can learn from my mistakes by implementing this tool. You just have to start doing it now. We've got, 8 minutes left. And so there's a couple of final thoughts, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. I want to encourage you that this is a journey, building your brand on LinkedIn. It's really about people. Like it really, really is. I have a bit of a show and tell here. I got these flowers, these beautiful flowers from a friend of mine, Lauren Greif. I met her on LinkedIn 6 months ago, and she is a dear friend now. And she sent me flowers this week that totally surprised me. And I'm so grateful for the community of people that I have met on LinkedIn, like really friends. I meet people from the internet now, like it's crazy. But that's when I changed my perspective about what I was here for. It makes the journey so much better. So last thing is, I sat in a masterclass with Cody Sanchez yesterday, and she said something that like shocked me. Well, it didn't shock me, but it really slapped me across the face, and it really resonated. And so I wanted to share it with you guys. Every company has a vector and a magnitude. The magnitude is how fast they go, and the vector is what direction they're going in. The problem is that a lot of people in business, they try and run fast and increase their magnitude. Let me just get here and start posting and let me do it. I got to go fast. But the problem is that they're going in the wrong direction because they don't have the right vector. I help entrepreneurs make sure that they get both the magnitude and the vector. And the way that I do that is through systems. So what I shared today was a system for posting on LinkedIn about building your brand. But the next step is monetizing it. And it's turning the attention into income. And for that, you have to know how to sell. So I teach systems, and systems allow you to go further and faster, and also how to know what direction you're going in. So I do want to leave you all with this. It's an invitation. You can do the DIY approach. You've got the tool. You have got the tool. I'm giving it to you. But if you want support in building a brand and you want to monetize it, I offer personalized coaching. So if you're curious, you can set up a discovery call with me. I'll be able to drop the link here. And I've opened up, over the next 3 weeks, I've opened up time on my calendar for people on this workshop for the next 3 weeks. And so if you're interested in scheduling something with me, book a call on that link right there. All right, so now it's your turn. I'm not signing off in 5 minutes. So if you've got any questions, hit me up. I'll be here for as long as I need to be.
I have one. I know that some social media platforms discourage you to link to move away from that social media platform. Do you know if LinkedIn does this?
Yeah. So if you want to link, if you want to provide links, the best way to do that is in your comment section. So LinkedIn doesn't love when you provide a link and take people out of their platform. So they will penalize you. Occasionally I do it. So I will drop a link to my newsletter, and I do not use the LinkedIn newsletter. I use my own newsletter because I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket. I want to be able to collect email addresses and build a newsletter offline, and just in case something happens with LinkedIn someday. And so I will drop a link to my newsletter in my post, and I know that piece of content's probably going to tank that day, but I don't care because 5 people are going to sign up for my newsletter, and that's really what I care about. So if you want to post outside links, you can do it in the comment section.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a question and an update for everybody, since we only have a few minutes to go until 1 o'clock, and we are, to repeat what Melissa said, we are going to hang out for a little while afterwards to answer any questions people have. I have included, if anybody wants to take a look at the chat room or the chat box on this, Melissa has provided a link to book an appointment with her for a future conversation. I also provided links to all 3 of our presenters' LinkedIn profiles. So if anybody wants to connect, and feel free to send a connection request, I'm sure just specify that you were in this presentation. I'm sure that Melissa, Pamela, or myself will have no problem accepting that and networking with you. And with no further ado, we have a question. Looks like Lilith has a question.
Go for it.
All right, great. I'm curious as to your thoughts on this tactic that I've observed several people do when they're posting, that they kind of have their content out there, which could fall under the 80-20 rule. But then at the end of the post, they always have like a tagline or something that basically says something about their company and you can book time with me here or something like that. What is your thought on that being on every single post versus not putting it right in front of everybody's face all the time?
Yeah. So I think that what's your intention when you're posting? You know, this goes back to the 80-20 rule, like half is about them, and then, or 80% is about them and 20% is about you. So you do want to have a CTA and you want to direct people on what to do next. It doesn't always have to be book up an appointment with me. Maybe you do that 1 or 2 times a week. I will tell you that when I'm leading up to launching a workshop, I am heavy into sales. I'm really directing people to my featured section. I'm directing people to my discovery calls. Like when I am in sales mode, I am in sales mode. When I'm not in sales mode, when my plate is full, when I've just launched a workshop and now I just really want to be focused on providing value and continue to build my brand, I'll direct people to leave comments more or to join my newsletter. So I vary it. The important thing, I think, is when you're asking people to do something in your CTA, you ask them to do one thing. So it's not book a call, then join my newsletter, then leave a comment.
Great. Thanks, Melissa.
What other questions do we have? We have another minute until 1. We have what time within regulation for one more question. Then we have plenty of time afterwards. What does anybody else have for us?
Well, I love that I'm seeing that you guys are going off to update your profile. I love that so much. That's what I want for you all.
Absolutely. Any questions in the chat? Any last thoughts before we close down shop and send you all packing? In the best and most consultative of ways, by the way.
Thank you for being here. Again, Jason and Pamela, thank you so much for inviting me. I truly hope that you can walk away from something like this. I gave you guys a lot. So just in the next 24 hours, just do 1 or 2 things. And you'll see, you're turning this into a business building machine, and it's one step at a time. I'll hang out too for a little bit in case anybody wants to linger around. Thank you all.
Very good. Thank you all.